Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Fosco, the Senior Product Designer for the release group on GitLab. And I'm here with Chris Balane, the Senior Product Manager for our group. And this is the Release UX and Product Weekly. Chris is sharing his screen, so I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, everyone. So we have our staying agenda here. So we're going to go through these topics. The first one is reviewing the planning issues. So just a quick check for 14.9. We should be pretty much finalized on this issue at this point in the milestone. We actually recorded a kickoff video the other day that I need to share actually out the channel, but we walked through the deliverables for the engineering side. Daniel walked us through the design. And then we also discussed and added a little doc section to discuss Russell's documentation work. Let me see, your question was, Daniel, any file considerations updates? I think we've been going back and forth async, and I think I'm pretty happy with where we're at. Nicole, this is more for the engineering side. Nicole did flag, like, I think a security issue that we might need to take on for engineering, but you know, I'll work through that with her. Anything else from your side, Daniel?
This first issue here in the design work, I remember us discussing it, and I actually forgot to add it in the milestone. So I think you just did here, but it doesn't have the weight. So I'll just update the weight accordingly. It shouldn't be a big thing, because I remember this is just about updating the single environment page with the new deployments, right? So shouldn't be a lot of work. So it should fit.
Sounds good. And yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I think most of the, I was actually telling Nicole, I think you already did that or have that done in some way. We just need to add it to the issue, or if not, then we already have the pieces. We just sort of need to.
Yeah, we have the pieces. I think one of the views I made for the org level environments page is pretty similar to what this is going to look like. So it's a matter of adjusting. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, sounds good. So that's 14.9. 14.10. Let's open this up.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty sparse at the moment. Oh, actually, we got some. Like we have some. I've started populating the engineering side actually, but this is definitely not final. I think we'll want to make sure we incorporate some of the other, I think, forward-looking product work that Daniel has been working on, and that the engineering team will be waiting in this 14.9 milestone. So more progress there, and then design. Anything else that you want to speak to here, Daniel?
So I'm not really sure what to schedule on 14.10 beyond just a continuation of our current work. The issues that we have in 14.9, the ones related to the UX OKRs with high severity and UX depth, and even outside of that, just other usability issues and small fixes for environments and deployments. We have plenty of those, but I wanted to make sure that I'm scheduling the right things to also aim in the direction we want to move towards. So that's where I'm feeling not lost, but I wanted like stronger direction on this. So yeah, that's something we can discuss. And I mentioned the delivery team because we talked to them recently, and we raised working with them directly as one strong team we could focus on, at least from the UX side. So yeah, maybe structuring that for 14.10 is a good bet for us.
Yeah, I think so. I think we can have the discussions and kick off those discussions in 14, or continue those discussions, I should say, in 14.9.
Yeah.
And that will, I think, give us some source of problems to focus on.
Yeah.
So let's, I think that's a great idea. So 14.9, start conversations, delivery team. The queue for design 10 and beyond. And then the other source is now, yeah, I think, I wonder if a good exercise to talk so we can think about 1410 as like reviewing the planning board. So maybe we could take a quick look at that.
Yeah.
And then I also want to pull up the roadmap, because now that we've skipping topics around a little bit, but now that I've put together a roadmap, the kind of the goal for that is so we can align in the future direction, but then also work backwards and figure out, well, what do we need to do to get there?
Do you perhaps want to look at the roadmap first, so we go?
Yeah,
on top
let's
of
do that. I think that's a great suggestion. So let me pull that up. Okay. Okay, so here's high level roadmap. So this is where we are today, February. We're still continuing to work on redesign, approvals. I think we're pretty complete in terms of design for these epics. Do we think so?
Yeah. For the first one, I can't think of anything that's still open in terms of design.
Okay.
There are a few improvements and iterations that I have in mind that I want to do, but they like scheduling them right now doesn't make sense considering there's so much work to wrap up the development. So I also don't want to like overwhelm the engineering team with more context around future stuff for this, right? But it's small stuff. Like I'm really happy with the way it's being developed, because it's really like exactly what the design was sought out to be. So really happy with that. And in the approve reject, there's a few couple of things yet, and they're here in our agenda to be discussed, but not a lot. Like it's minor things, and things are really outside of the MVC, right? Yeah, in terms of design, we're good with these two.
Cool. Do we think we can include, one thing just came to mind, the approvals, or will we want to include approval actions in the single environments page? I think we have in sort of a related issue where we've been talking about the manual jobs as part of the deployments page. To me, those are pretty similar.
We have an issue for that, and it is listed in the epic.
Right.
I don't think it's being considered as a part of the MVC necessarily, but it is there.
Yep.
It's designed,
okay.
And it's there.
Okay, right. Okay, cool. So as long as, if we're good on that one, then I think we can continue through the roadmap. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the next one here this is error budget improvements. I think this is more about backend like optimization. So I think we could skip that one.
Yeah.
The next one I've included is environments and deployments cleanup. So really the high level for this epic is thinking about what we can do to better enable the user to manage, like literally manage the many different environments that might build up over time just through natural usage.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, there are a few ways we can do that. We can, I think probably the best way is to automate cleanup as much as possible. And so we did do a recent feature where we auto archive kind of stopped environments.
What are you calling archive here, by the way?
Yeah, archive. Technically, it's I think it's, what is it? I'm trying to recall. It had something to do with the ref, the Git ref, where we might have removed the. Let me actually look it up rather than trying to.
Oh, I think I know this. Yeah, I think I saw.
Archive old deployments is what we called it. We deleted the old deployment refs specifically. That's what we did. Yeah, but I think there's other ways to potentially clean these up, and so there are a lot of issues here. But I think one that was that has been upvoted are, like, I think it was this one. There's, in terms of cleaning up, this one was, I'm pretty sure this is upvoted. It's another one. Oh, stale environments.
Yeah, I think the stale one is more requested.
Yeah, I think that was the one. Yeah, that was really highly upvoted. So I think, so potentially some of these issues. Yeah, and then we had a back and forth, you and Shinya, about this as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting problem because there's different vectors for solving this. Like
Yeah.
one important vector is like just reliability. We can let the weight of all deployments just cause outages and just degrade the reliability. But on the other hand, we can also solve some of these problems from the UI perspective, right? Just because you have a bunch of old deployments or old environments that you don't want necessarily delete them, they're also not useful being shown to you all the time in the UI. So we can take a two-tier approach where we work on the UI to just focus on showing you what's actually useful, but also work from the backend and reliability perspective to let you remove them as well, so they don't cause trouble down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting that this specific issue that's most upvoted, the provide a mechanism to clean up stale deployment environments. The agreement we came to, and I'll leave the comment linked here in the agenda, is actually to just not do anything from the UX perspective. The environment should be cleaned up by a background action, and like no notice should be given to the users. Because if we are assuming these are stale environments that don't really matter, and we trust the heuristic that we defined to clean them up, then informing the users doesn't do anything because they won't have the option to not let them be cleaned up. At least that's what I understood. So UX for and that was a super interesting approach because there had been so much discussion and UX proposal in this issue. And then I think it was maybe Sheena and Vlad who came up with the idea to just, let's just solve this on the background and assume that it's the best and users really don't need to know this. And I agree with that at the time. We have to pick this up because this comment is from 3 months ago. So I might be wrong here, but I think that's the case.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a good next step is to re-engage, because I think, at least for me, I wasn't able to even respond here. So talk it over with Shinya. I know it's marked ready for development, but sort of with a lot of these issues that I'm finding is like even though we've, they're sort of marked ready for development, we want to, a lot of them have been old, or just worked on part like for a while, or sorry, a while ago, and so we want to just make sure. So maybe that's a good next step for this one.
Yeah, I think a good idea is to bring this up in our next team meeting on Tuesday. Just so we have like a quick like sanity check from everyone in the room on this, and then
cool. Yeah, I like it. Sounds good. This is a related one. This is more about stopped environments, but I think yeah, maybe we discuss all of these related ones actually.
Yeah. I mean, discussing the epic more or less, right? Like cleaning up.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, cool.
Because these are all very somewhat related. So I think there's an opportunity for us to not find like the silver bullet that will solve them all, but one or two patterns, either, like a heuristic on the back end or a UI configuration that will solve like 80% of these really well.
Yes. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, awesome. Sounds good. I just wanted to check this one really quickly to see if there's any votes. Okay. This one is about delete deployments via API.
This one is because what exactly does it mean to delete deployments via API? Do you send a command with the idea of a specific deployment, or do you set a command that has like a time window, like every deployment older than X, and you give a date and it just like wipes them all out? I think it's an interesting detail that we can think of. Like, what is the use case? It is deleting like specific deployments one after the other. It is having a sort of like cron job. It's something that runs recurrently that cleans like the last month, 6 months back, something like that. Just understanding how exactly this will be used and designing against that.
Yeah, wait, an old environment. I think that's a that's a typo here. Yeah, I also wonder what the problem to solve too is. If it's cleaning up, like, I guess the one thought that comes to mind is, why would we want to delete deployments?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, from the like CRUD perspective, right? If we can create deployments via API, it makes sense that we also can delete deployments via API. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of this epic and this idea of cleaning up the excessive artifacts that either impact the UI or impact the reliability of GitLab, my main like path here is just making sure that whatever we can do that does not involve like users is the best. And it sounds counterintuitive perhaps, but the idea is users shouldn't be worrying about cleaning up their artifacts to avoid outages or to reduce their usage of GitLab storage or something like that, right? It is something that we should solve automatically for them. Maybe they can configure like how specifically they want it to happen. That's fine, but we should have defaults that are smart enough to make sure that their GitLab instance will never blow up, GitLab.com will never have an outage, and their deployment page will always be usable. Like, you will never have a bunch of old stuff that just gets in the way,
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I like the idea of separating that, as you're saying. And then I don't know if we have a specific issue, but like, I like your idea of like focusing on this epic, and then we'll work together to break it down. And that could be a good focus. Yeah, I think that's perfect for 1410.
Yeah, makes sense.
Sorry, what was that? Okay, yep, cool. Well, let's see, just continuing down here in the roadmap. So the other epic that will that's next here is improving environments functionality and usability. And so this is more of also a parent epic, but there are, I think in general, again, the themes are continuing to enhance the environments page and what you can do there, the design of it, usability. Honestly, this overlaps, and probably with a lot of the work we've done and you've redesigned in the new page. So I think there's probably some of like deduping and like closing out some of these older issues, but maybe that's something we could do async, like, so like, for example, usability improvements. Some of these are like UI kind of problems or issues, like default sorting we already solved, but maybe these are some things that we consider. I think the one for me that would be really high impact is adding a search bar to the environments page. It's also, if I remember correctly, it's pretty highly upvoted by our users. Yeah, 64. It's a lot.
Yeah,
so I think just on the theme of environment management and making it easy to use, just I think that would be a kind of a high impact feature, probably one that we would probably a fairly straightforward design actually, but I think we want to keep that one on our radar.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that can be closed once the new environment page goes up. But it's enough issues that we need to like take out time to go over them and make sure we're closing everything that we can close, but only things that should be closed, right? We don't lose any information in this process. But yeah, there's a lot of things that will be cleaned up here, and I'm excited to just go over it and chop it down because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah,
at the same time, there's a lot of ideas that makes perfect sense for our new page, like the search bar, that we can pull out of here and work on.
Cool. Yeah, maybe it might be a good idea to do that async. Like we could go through these epics.
Yeah.
I think from sort of the design side, you would have a good idea of like, well, yeah, actually this prior proposal doesn't really make sense anymore. It's an outdated proposal because we have this new design already.
So let me write that down.
Cool.
I can do some of that next week, but I will tag.
Awesome.
And then in terms of timing, considering the new environments page, it's almost done. I think there is one MR that is still pending. It's related to alerts, but I'm pretty sure with all the others closed, the corresponding issues are also closed, right? Like it's still behind the feature flag, but from the GitLab perspective, it is considered as done, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So if that's the case, we can already close the duplicates. We don't have to wait the page to be flag to be turned on to do that.
I agree. Yep. Especially if it was definitely we should do that. Yep.
Yeah, I think the one that's still missing one MR to be closed is the one that's still open, but the rest is closed.
Cool.
All right, let's take on that next week. All right, do you want to keep going over the roadmap?
Yeah, the one thing I think we can talk to, and then it probably makes sense to maybe defer the rest to later, or at least for just in interest of time here. The next one is I created a new epic called org level environment management. Really, this is what we've been calling group environments or shared environments. I just created a holding epic because this is sort of a side note, but we were doing a roadmap exercise for the sales kickoff, and so we had to put together like key features that we're planning to build in the next year, which we're excited about. So this one is obviously to me is a huge one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but anyway, like this is the one that you and I have been working on and collaborating on with Hayana and Jackie and others and Chinya. And so essentially, yeah, anything related to group environments that we want to think about for design, I think we'll want to prioritize that too. So you and I have already been working on the first MVC of this, and I think we're in a good place. I actually still need to postmark my comment about what you and I discussed in terms of Shinya's open questions. But I guess the question is if there's anything here that we want to slot in for 1410 for design too, but I'm not sure.
I think so. I think that there are iterations to the current design. This one you were right on top of the dynamically populated organization level, which is really the MVP for this whole thing, I think.
Yeah.
At least from the perspective. And it is planning breakdown because the design was done, but then we had some catch up, and I do believe the UI can be updated to reflect our latest discussion. And regardless of anything else that we discussed, I do believe that is a direction we should go and just implement that as the MVC and just ship it and see.
Cool.
And then further build where it goes from there, right?
Yeah.
So I would perhaps mark this issue as the MVC and then break down whatever has to be broken down into separate issues and go from there. So that is a little bit of work that we can schedule for 1410. I do want to go back to the roadmap to ask you something.
Yeah, please.
One of the issues the main issue that I'm excited to work on 14.9 is connecting environments and releases, which is down there. So my impression is that this roadmap because of the way that this roadmap UI is set up, reflects more engineering than UX, right? Like this is your
my intent
for implementation.
Yeah, that's my intention. And then you and I sort of work backwards from there, because there's product work to sort of get it ready, and then there's design work to get it ready. But yeah, that's typically my view for the roadmap.
Yeah, so for 14.10, I think environment and deployments cleanup, it is very much requested, but it's also, it shouldn't be UX intensive, not as much as the other two. So in terms of focus for 14.10, I would rather put a little bit more energy into org level environment management and connecting release stage to other features.
Yeah.
I think those will open up the space more for like more UX work in the future. The cleanup like will solve a very, very real problem that we have, and like we should put the focus on that as well. But once that's done, it is done, right? It's more of a fix than opening up more capabilities, I believe.
I agree. Yep, I agree. Sounds good. That makes sense to me.
So this is really good because it's giving me the structure that I wanted to think on for 14.10. So thanks for making this roadmap.
Yeah. And by the way, honestly, yeah, I know, Dana, this has been a long time coming. And so I literally spent like the whole day on Wednesday, like putting this together. And well, actually, I started doing it a few weeks ago, but that was exactly the intent, because now that we have this, at least some view of what's next, you and I can go into each of these milestones. We could slot in each of these projects, right? And then we'll have our flow going. So yeah, glad it's helpful.
So here on the agenda, I'll invert the order. I'll put the cleanup afterwards. Yeah, and then we can yeah, between delivery team or org level environment management, connecting release stage to other stuff, and cleaning up old environments, we have more than enough work for UX.
Sounds good. Cool. So and then yeah, depending on capacity, we could always push some of it out to the next one. So
yeah, I think likely one of them will be a little bit pushed up front, but I would rather have more on our plate to prioritize, and then push out than very little and not feel like we're aiming at the right things.
Agree.
Cool. So do you want to, we're a little bit short on time. Do you want to go to the triage, or maybe I showed the prototypes and the latest
Let's do the prototypes. We've been looking at triage. I think, all right, yeah, let's just jump in.
Yep. Yeah, let me take over the screen share then.
Yeah.
All right. It's pretty short actually. So the first one, both are about environment deployment approvals. The first one is the project settings that need to be set up to add approval counts. I had already a prototype of this, but got a lot of feedback, so I iterated quite a bit. So this is what we have in production, right? For a protected environment, you choose the environment, and then you choose the users or roles allowed to deploy. And that deploy here is clicking the run button on the manual job, and that's it. That's what we have. So this iteration is about adding the number of required approvals. Then there's a little change here in the copy to make sure people understand. This will be changed to be both run and approving deployment. The first, the same user, but we'll iterate that in the future. And once you set the approval, this page is a little bit slow. Yeah. And the interesting thing here is you see there's production twice, and that's on purpose because you can have multiple sets of approval rules per environment. And I think there's a comment here that outlines it pretty well, right? So for the same environment, let's say production, you could require, 2 approvals from developers, 2 approvals from maintainers as specific roles, and then 1 approval from the CEO, the user that is the CEO of the company, perhaps. And then each one of these approval rules would need to be met in order for the deployment to run. So it's nice that we have this very flexible way to set it up. And that's it. There's like some things that were added, mobile view, just make sure the UI doesn't break. But this is the gist of it. And then on the other side of the counter, we have the user facing UI, where the deployments that need to be approved show up. And this issue was created because the core of deployment approvals is on the environments page. That's where we design the MVC, where the MVC is being implemented. But deployment that has to be approved is a deployment job. And as pipeline jobs, they show up everywhere in GitLab, right?
Okay.
So we're introducing a new state. Deployment jobs that need to be approved now go into a blocked state. This is a screenshot from the proof of concept. So this is what they show this is how they show right now, the moment we ship this feature. And the idea is to improve this. So the first idea to improve this, it's to improve the way we represent the state. So instead of showing blocked, we'll show waiting needs approval. The problem here is that there's still a run button that doesn't give you the approval functionality that we're implementing in the environments page. So we have two approaches for this. One approach is to change it to the thumbs up button, but then just redirect the user to the environments page, because that's the place where you should approve or reject deployments. That's the place where you have the most context, and it is the right place where these kinds of users are hanging out. But if by any chance you're in this page and you have to do this, this will redirect you there. The second approach is not to redirect the users, it's just to, not re-implement, but also have the same functionality here. So you click here, you have the full context, and then you either approve or reject the deployment. Both me and Shinya are erring towards the previous version, just redirecting the user, for a few reasons. One, just not having to maintain the same UI everywhere from the technical aspect, but also because we believe the place where these users that approve deployments use, the page that they use is the environments page. They don't hang out on the jobs page that much. If they do, it's because the functionality is not available in the right place. So we want to make sure we're funneling users towards the right place on GitLab, the right page, to where a page that is focused and optimized to do this. So for now, that's the direction we're going, but it is a decision that can easily be reverted. I would rather have the simpler, link, and then maybe iterate towards this, which is a more complex feature, than doing the opposite, right?
Yep.
That's another reason to go with the smaller step. Yeah.
Completely agree. I like your perspective. I like your point of view that the environments page is where we want to drive people to do that. I also like that, and this is probably why you're thinking of it, but one of the reasons I think that makes a lot of sense is because in the future, like we want the environments page will and should have like the information that they need to make that decision, right? Like in the environments page, they'll see it sort of in relation to the other deployments, the other projects in the case of group environments, right? And so I think 1000% agree that that's the right decision. And then we could always iterate if it turns out like for whatever reason people really want in the jobs page. But like, yeah, I think there's kind of like multiple reasons. It's easier to build, iteration, environments page has more information to make that, like we want to arm them with the right information to make that decision, right? I think it's another way of looking at it, and environments page is the right place. So just, all that to say, I agree with you. Great call.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's what I had in terms of prototypes. So next we have your point on sharing on the team meeting, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think one thing we want to do, and we have been doing this, but I just thought it could be a good thing to add and discuss in our sync before next week's team meeting. So like every week we discuss and align on, well, what's a good topic to do an overview with the team and have a team discussion. So so if you have anything, that's great. Like I think we called out one which is already, which we can just add here, is the cleaning up updated or cleaning up old environments. I think that's a potential topic. Just have a quick discussion like, well, what's the right approach? Let's use that time, that synchronous time, to have that with the team, because it is more of a technical, like part of the big driver for that issue is a technical problem. So good to get some technical feedback.
Makes sense for me.
I think that's a good one for next. Yeah. Okay, cool. I know just we're running up on time here. Anything else that you wanted to cover with the team?
No, I think there's enough technical and also UX perspectives that we need to cover on this. So I think we're good for next week, this one.
Yep, cool. And then, yeah, the last one I added is I recorded and I wanted to share with you. This is a really long video, so we have to play it. I wanted to share with you and with the team that I did a kickoff video for essentially for the new year and for the new quarter. So highlight, remind ourselves of what our visions are for the categories, dive into the roadmap that we were just looking at before, sort of give more information about why we're prioritizing what. So those of you watching, definitely recommend it if you're interested. Links here, or we'll share the link more broadly actually, so people can watch it.
Will this video be private or public?
It's marked private right now, so GitLab, but all GitLab can view. Since this was my first one, honestly, I wasn't sure about some of the sensitivities of some of the topics, but open to feedback on how I did that, or
yeah,
we can share.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I think it can be made public.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good.
Cool. I think that's all of our agenda for today.
I think so.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel. Good chat.
Right. Thanks, Chris. Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.